With the current uncertainty of unrestricted free agents Luke Cornett, Xavier Tillman, and more recently Neemias Queta, there's a good possibility that Brad Stevens is going to look into the open market to look for his new backup big. With free agency slated to start today, I'm here with Celtics Digest to show you a couple of big men that I personally like for the Celtics to look for in free agency. Before we get started, I just want to say, me and Bruce, we greatly appreciate every single ounce of support you guys have been giving us. And as always, subscribe to Celtics Digest for all the new latest rumors, trades, and everything about our Boston Celtics. The best to get started, what I want to get into is this free agency uncertainty that I'm talking about. So obviously we have now we have five actually, five unrestricted free agents that we could possibly bring back. And we have five spots as well that's still open on the team. Um, I think we're gonna bring back one of these big men. We're either gonna bring back Luke Cornett or Tillman. I don't know which one yet. I don't know which one I'm leaning towards yet as well. But I really think we will see one of them back. But I also know Brad Stevens also likes to keep a roster spot open for the potential buyout market as well as trade market come later in the season towards All-Star break and that time. So I still think we're gonna bring back another big because we also currently the only two bigs that we have right now are Al Horford and Kristaps Porziņģis. Kristaps, who's not going to be back till December, January type time, where also we don't want him to play as many games in the regular season because we know he is one of those players that is also very injury prone. And that's not a bad thing to say. It's just the truth of the nature. Kristaps is a player that can't really play you a full 82 game stretch for you, which is okay. A lot of players can't do that. And Al Horford, he's at the time of his career where he's not going to be necessarily giving you 30 minutes, 35 minutes nightly in a season, 82 game season. He might not even play back to backs. So I think the biggest thing is that we're gonna have to look into the free agency market, and especially there's a lot of good big men that are gonna be playing for cheap contracts next year. And I think this is gonna be the first one that I'm gonna talk about is all like certainly Mo Bamba. Everyone might be asking, why am I going to talk about Mo Bamba? I still think he's a great player. He was just not able to unlock himself for these other teams. He was a high draft pick going toward the Orlando Magic, but he wasn't able to show himself because that team was just so bad. Now they're a better team. They have Paulo Banchero, Jalen Suggs, those type of players. But I think as well, he wasn't able to unlock himself on the Lakers or the currently the 76ers. It was surprising that he didn't even get a lot of minutes when he was playing for the 76ers when Joel Embiid was out. They gave it to Paul Reed. But I still think Mo Bamba is a player that can definitely unlock himself, especially in Mazzulla ball. I think the biggest thing about him is that, he's a great all-around player. He definitely can shoot the three really well. And he's still young for his age. He's still only 26 years old. He's able to show that he can really play. He's a great rebounder. He can still shoot the ball. The only thing is that his defense is not as good as it was when he was first projected to be drafted. He's still a great shot blocker, but he's very much gets killed in the post in the paint area a lot of the time. He very much relies on his strength, on his height, not necessarily his strength because he's not very strong in stature, but he relies a lot on his height to get those blocks and to get a lot of the stops. He's very much a foul type of person, but I still think he's going to be able to play better in the Celtics system. I still think the Sixers system last year, that was very much a bad situation for him to go into because, there was just so many things happening. Joel Embiid, you have another center in Paul Reed that was very much able to not allow Mo Bamba to get the minutes that he wanted. So I think, the Celtics coming to a team like the Celtics would graciously help Mo Bamba and would help the Celtics in many ways, especially for the beginning stretch of the season where Kristaps wouldn't be playing. The second player I want to mention is obviously, and show you guys, is talk about James Wiseman. Now, James Wiseman, he was a player that was drafted high up, but he had a lot of problems coming into the draft. The biggest thing was he missed the first season because he had a knee issue. He had a knee injury, so he wasn't able to play. And I just think he's one of those players that wasn't also unlocked correctly as a player. One of the biggest things is that he was a high offensive type player. He was able to just do a lot of things well. He's a scorer. He's a big scorer. So I think the biggest thing for him is just getting buckets, and he was able to show that he has a post game as well as being able to show that he can do a lot of things around the rim, and mid range area was his sweet spot. He doesn't really shoot the three as well or shoot the three at all, honestly, to his stats. While he was a Warrior, he was shooting more threes or trying to unlock that part of his game. But, as a Piston, we already know about the Pistons. I don't think I got to say much about them. But I think he was one of those players that had a lot of potential coming into the league, and he's still 23 years old, where I think Brad Stevens and Joe Mazzulla and the player developmental staff for the Celtics could really take in a player like this, right? Take him in, give him these minutes to really develop himself at the beginning of part of the season and show him like how Mazzulla ball really is, and show him that there's like a lot of things that he could obviously he could work on and become the better player that he is, Obviously his defensive box plus minus is a -1. So obviously means he contends. He's able to contest really well. But I just think the biggest thing for him is just being a better defensive player all around and being able to match up with the better big men in the league. Because that's the thing that when you're coming into this new Celtics backup big man role, the beginning of the season, you're going to be playing against a lot of good big men because you're going to be getting these increased size of minutes. So that brings me up to my last player that I wanted to talk about today, and that's going to be Dario Saric. Now, Dario Saric, I think he's a great player. I think he's a poorer man's Kristaps Porziņģis. I think he's a great player. He was on the Warriors last year, and I think the year before that, as well as he was on the Thunder. And I think he's one of those players that could really be an impact player for us, especially in the beginning of the season. He shows that he can shoot the three ball well. He's able to play in the pick and roll, and I just think that's a great to obviously use. I think that he's able to unlock himself in many, many different ways. And I think that, with a lot of help, he's going to be able to progress into becoming a better player. Obviously, he's on the older side. He's 30 years old, and he's still only 6'10". I think this is more of the fit that we could probably go into. And he was on a minimum contract last year, so obviously he's going to be able to play on another minimum contract. He averaged 8 points per game, 4.4 rebounds. He's not really the best rebounder, as he's one of those obviously he's a more European style basketball player. But that's why I really compared him to, poor man's Kristaps, because I think that they really play very much similar. A lot of 3-pointers, a lot of pick and pop, a lot of fadeaways. Like, he's one of those type players that I think that we could really utilize, and it would be able to keep our flow and system really well regardless. Instead of having a player like James Wiseman, where he really doesn't shoot threes often, bringing in Dario Saric will really show that, we can still spread out the floor, and that 5-out style of offense is really going to particularly work for us. As well as, while Bamba might be a great, more all-around player, I still think Dario Saric is the system fit that we need. And I think that's possibly where I think we would go. Just let me know in the comments where you guys think we're going to do with our center position, backup center position, what we could possibly do in free agency, as well as we have 5 open roster spots. We could possibly make another move. Obviously, we're under the second apron, so that means we're kind of very much stuck into where we are, and the only contracts that we can offer is very much minimum type deals. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. This is another episode of Celtics Digest. I'm your host, Godfrey Sympre, and without anything else, have a great one. Thank you.